Here with me, Princeton University professor Eddie Glaude and Columbia University professor of practice Basil Smikle. Both are MSNBC political analysts. Eddie, how do you begin to quantify what you see and experience on campus as the benefits of international students in and out of the classroom?
Well, I don't know how to quantify it, Chris, but I do know this, that the objective of a liberal arts education at its best is to create a cosmopolitan subject. Not someone who's content in their own prejudices, not someone who refuses to examine their own blind spots, their own assumptions, but to actually open themselves up to the possibilities that the world presents. And so when you have an environment that is narrow, it actually reproduces provincialism. But if your education aspires to produce a particular kind of person, a particular kind of citizen, not only of the United States, but of the world, then you want them to be expansive in their view. And in order to be expansive, you have to have experiences, right, with folk in the dorm rooms, in the classroom, in the books, in the material that will open your eyes in some ways to the vast diversity of the world.
People say, who go there, Basil, you walk onto Harvard, you hear 15 different languages in a minute. I'm guessing it's very much the same at Columbia. Your school is the most popular of the Ivy Leagues for the F-1 visa.
That's right.
And so you've got students from all over the world. How would it change the fabric of your university and your classrooms if that went away?
Quite significantly. First, can we celebrate this moment? Because we are on together in the flesh for the first time in years. So,
and I'm proud it's on this show.
And it's a great conversation to be with my brother talking about this, because I think Eddie's right, that it breaks apart the provincialism. Privilege reproduces itself like no other thing. And when you have diverse groups of people on a college campus, diverse perspectives from diverse countries, ethnicities, races, it really does make you feel that you are not alone in this world, that there is a global audience waiting and available for you. So at Columbia, one of the things that I've had to do is have that extra conversation with the student, because they do have concerns about what it's going to be like, not so much on campus, but what's the atmosphere like in the city and in the country. A lot of you say that Columbia has a very high percentage of international students because they want to be in New York. And I go back to that old Yellow Pages ad. If it's out there, it's in here. That's how I describe New York City.
You're dating yourself.
I know I am, and I do it every day. But this is why folks want to come to college campuses to experience this. And the $44 billion that are spent by students, imagine what happens when 40% of those $1.1 billion decide to stay in the country, and then the economic generator that they become for their cities, states, and the nation.
That's not the way the president sees it, Eddie. He sees this as an effort to keep out the troublemakers. Let me play that.
They're taking people from areas of the world that are very radicalized, and we don't want them making trouble in our country. So I saw yesterday that in the middle of the UK, there was a nice young man. He wants to go back to school at Harvard, and he looked good to me, but I want to check his passport. I want to make sure that the foreign students are people that can love our country. We don't want to see shopping centers exploding.
He looked good to me, but is the president saying the quiet part out loud?
He is, obviously. I mean, we know this word troublemakers for him is often attached to particular bodies, to particular regions, regions that he's okay with accepting an airplane from, though. Right. But not necessarily their students. Right? So I think it's really important for us to understand. He also said something out loud as well. Not too long ago, a couple of days ago, he said that with all of these foreign students being admitted to places like Harvard, there are no seats left for Americans. And you combine that with the critique of race-based admissions. This is about, really, these institutions, Chris, trying to build a student body that reflects not only the diversity of the country, but the diversity of the world. And Trump stoking a particular kind of grievance because people like him, their children can't seem to get into Harvard like they used to. They can't get into the Columbias and the Princetons like they used to. They're having difficulty getting into the Lehighs and the Williams like they used to. They believe they possess these institutions. And so, by virtue of their particular positions of power, they are trying to, in some ways, capture them once again.
It's a really important point, because what he's saying is that education is being commodified. and you should get it only at certain price points. And if you look at the history of our country, whether you're talking about in 1819 Dartmouth's case against with the Supreme Court that it established the independence of universities, created the kind of philanthropic system we see today. The Morrill Act in 1862, which established a lot of state universities and some HBCUs. The GI Bill, affirmative action, Title IX, Brown versus Board of Ed. There's been a 200-year history of this country saying that we need to make education more accessible to Americans. And what we see in this administration, if you also include taking money away from museums, taking money away from other cultural institutions.
And we start with breaking news on Harvard's graduation day. Just a few miles away from the commencement ceremony, a U.S. district judge ordered the Homeland Security and State Departments not to make any changes to the university's student visa program indefinitely. CNN is covering the story from all angles. Paula Reed is following the updates inside the hearing, and Danny Freeman is next to Harvard's campus where graduation is wrapping up. Paula, first walk us through what the judge said.
So Dana, for now, international students can still come to Harvard. Now, today, the judge was looking at this move by the Trump administration to revoke the university's student visa program. This impacts their ability to host international students, because if you come here to attend school from another country, you have to be enrolled in a school with a valid student visa program. The university has argued that this is a violation of their free speech and other constitutional rights. And today, this was a high-stakes hearing in this ongoing battle between the university and the administration, and it was almost derailed by a late-night filing last night by the Justice Department. This was a formal notice to the school that they intended to go forward with this, and it kicked off a 30-day period that would have given the university an opportunity to respond. And Dana, that's the kind of boring procedural stuff that can completely delay or derail a hearing like this. But today, the judge was not having it. She said she did not want to leave this issue open. And instead, she said she wants to, quote, maintain the status quo. So she is going to continue a temporary block on this policy, and she wants the two sides, so the university and the Justice Department, to hash out a permanent pause on this policy. She said it doesn't need to be draconian, but I want to make sure it's worded in such a way that nothing changes. So that pause will remain in effect while these larger constitutional questions are litigated and until a final court decides if this is a violation of the Constitution. And as you know, this is just one of the many ongoing battles between the school and the Trump administration on everything from funding to DEI.
That's right. And as we mentioned, as we speak, there is a graduation wrapping up in Boston. And as the graduation was happening, the students at Harvard gave the school's president, Alan Garber, a minute-long standing ovation. Danny Freeman, you are right there. What are you hearing about the events on campus today?
Danny, here on campus, there's really a mix of emotions. Obviously, we've seen a lot of the pomp and circumstance that you would expect with any graduation, right? There are families and parents here that are all dressed up. They're thrilled for their graduating seniors. There are a lot of people in caps and gowns all over the place here, again, celebrating their own achievement from graduating from Harvard. But make no mistake, this ongoing battle with the federal government really has been looming large over this entire community. You noted it. We saw that standing ovation for the president of Harvard, Alan Garber, earlier. He's really become the face of the resistance against the Trump administration, and that was noteworthy. But he really stayed away from politics in his remarks to the class, although I will note he did say at one point, members of the class of 2025 from down the street, across the country, and around the world. And he noted, around the world, just as it should be. And that line right there got tremendous applause as well from the folks on Harvard's campus at that moment. But other than that, stayed away from the direct subject of what is going on right now. But a lot of speakers since then have alluded to this idea that Harvard is in a battle and is worthy of defending. Take a listen to what one of the student commencement speakers said on this topic just a little while ago now.
With Harvard at the center of a national battle over higher education in America. Now look, our university is certainly imperfect, but I am proud to stand today alongside our graduating class, our faculty, and our president with the shared conviction that this ongoing project of Veritas is one worth defending.
Now, Dana, all that being said, and Paula's update aside, while there might be some slight relief from that judge's order today and keeping that ban basically not from happening at the moment, there is still concern for the community of international students here. Make no mistake, I've been speaking to folks throughout the week, not just for them, but also for this larger battle of federal funding that is currently being cut or frozen for many researchers here. So this story not quite over, though a cheerful day here on Commencement Day on campus. Dana.
Yeah, it sure seems that way. Thank you both for that update. Appreciate it. And I'm joined by a terrific group of reporters here at the table. CNN's Jeff Zeleny, at the Washington Post's Sabrina Rodriguez, and Jonah Goldberg of The Dispatch. Hello, everyone. Jeff, the politics of Harvard is ever changing, both on campus and also with regard to kind of how that school is perceived across the board, especially by the man in the White House. Maybe that hasn't changed so much, but it is escalating, and he is absolutely not backing down.
He's not backing down. Harvard is a symbol to him. It's a symbol of elitism. Never mind that several Harvard grads work in the White House, which is always the case, of course. But I do think that Harvard has been making the case here that it's not just about them. This is about something that could hurt the American people,
These institutions are not going to give up. And Trump has united them. These institutions have been divided in many ways, and not without reason. I mean, the presidents of these institutions have stood in silence and in complicity with human rights abuses in Palestine and all of these sorts of things. And the students, by and large, have stood up to their administrations and said, that we are standing against this regime of terror that Israel is enacting and all of that, right? But Trump is uniting these groups, and these students are cheering on their presidents, their university presidents, and booing Trump. Because what Trump has done is made it clear that he has no respect for education. He doesn't. Not insofar, not unless it could directly profit him and serve his interests. Now, there are moments where, for example, Trump sided with the Elon wing and said that, we want to bring highly educated people in and have them work on H-1B visas and all of this. But that's very clearly, if a big business capitalist wants a worker, Trump will get them a worker to undercut your wages and to bring in a worker that is dependent on their boss for their very, presence in the U.S. But when it comes to educating young people on the problems that the world faces and how to fix them, whether there's a social problems or scientific problems, Trump is saying, I would rather make my country weaker and make China stronger and other countries stronger than have a portion of the population be educated and cognizant of how I am screwing America. I would rather China win and get all the scientists and all the engineers and all the experts and all the what have you than have those people here challenging me. He's a selfish monster.